Welcome everyone to another Chicago Bears fan show. I'm James, and I'm going to be taking you through everything Chicago Bears that happened this week once again. It's a good week. We beat the Detroit Lions on Monday night. First thing we're going to do is review that game. Second thing I'm going to look at is specifically the Ndamukong Suh play on Jay Cutler. I'm going to assess it, and then I'm going to give you my opinion of what I thought of it. And finally, I'm going to look at where the Bears situation is going forward as we move on into the NFL season. We're almost near the halfway point. So first off, that Detroit game. It was marked by some great turnover skills by the Chicago Bears defense once again. As I mentioned in the last video previewing this game, Tillman had a nice impact in this one with his ability to create turnovers and punch balls loose and really utilize his hands on the ball. He's been doing that his whole career, generating fumbles, and in this case, incompletions as well. What didn't happen, even though I thought it could, was that Calvin Johnson could make some big plays on Tillman by going up the ladder on some jump balls. But Tillman really held his own, had really tight coverage on him the whole game, and made his life a living nightmare. In addition to that, we saw what we thought was going to happen once the Bears got up in this game, playing that cover 2. Let's go and look at some deeper analysis particular to the situation. This is where they're up 13-0. Alright, let's take a look at a point in the game here. This is the third quarter. We've got the lead. This is going to be a classic look at what I mentioned last video, where the Bears go into that cover 2 that Lovey just loves to play, especially when they get the lead. And we're going to see what happens here is the first and only thing that the linebackers want to do is they're going to draw back into coverage here. Sometimes they'll come and threaten closer to the line, but ultimately they're dropping back into coverage to help out. And there's no sign anywhere in sight of any safeties up near the middle of the field. They're all deeply back in the field, waiting for those receivers to get downfield and waiting for Stafford to try and force it in. And as you'll see here, guess who he's going to try and force the ball into. So let's roll it from here and just see how this progresses. So 4-man rush comes. It's actually picked up relatively well, as you can see, but Stafford, instead of taking the dump off the short route, which is what you really have to do against the cover 2, is be very disciplined and take what's given to you. He's going to try and jam it in to guess who? Calvin Johnson. And you start to see safety is seeing the ball come out and is making a break on it. He's really has no other responsibility except to look for these kind of balls in the backfield. He's just playing center field back there, looking for chances in this cover 2 setup on his side of the field. So he's got a real opportunity to make a play on this ball here, and in this case, we see him come up and do exactly that. As you saw in that, it was very typical Lovie Smith cover 2 defense there. Great play by Chris Conte coming up and reading the ball downfield and making a play on it. So what we also saw last week from the Bears, on offense at least, was a great run game. Forte had over 100 yards total on the night, and Michael Bosch chipped in some as expected. They really racked it up against the Detroit Lions, who are a mediocre run defense, and that's promising for the Bears going forward. If they have a good run game going and complementing their good defense and special teams, this is a recipe that's proven to be very successful in the Windy City in the past. So again, really good going forward, and I think that they can have success on the ground this coming week against the Panthers. I'll get to that in an entirely other video. Now, here's what surprised me a bit more this week, specifically for the Bears, was how weak their passing game was on offense. I thought that there'd be a bit more Cutler in this game, but I think that he was rattled early on by the hit from Suh and just couldn't get into the groove. And I'm more concerned going forward about the lack of a solid number 2 receiver for the team. That's really where my mindset is concerned at this point in time. Marshall's not a question mark, but are they going to be able to double team him if he's too much of a focus, or if he's the only good thing they've got in the pass game? Hester, to me, is not stepping up right now, and that's concerning. But maybe Earl Bennett can be the guy. We've yet to find out, but we didn't see a good pass game this past week. I know that much. Outside of that first drive, which was capped off by a touchdown to Brandon Marshall. So, The other thing that we saw, which was a bit concerning this week, was the offensive line play, where it seemed to be moving forward quite nicely coming into this game. It backtracked a bit. And we saw a number of players on the Detroit defensive line get sacks, get to Cutler, and wreak havoc generally throughout the game, especially on the pass game. And that's not good for the Bears on their offensive line. What I'm going to do now specifically is break down the hit that we saw Cutler take from Suh early in the game. Okay, first things first. What I want you to do is I want you to focus on the middle of the field where all the action is going to happen here as we let this start to roll. First of all, I want to bring your attention to who's got whom. Okay, so clearly, as you'd expect on this play, Lance Lewis should have dibs on Suh. Great. Now, the plan for this blocking situation in the play action clearly is that Carimi's going to get a chip on him, and that happens as well. Over here in the middle, you're going to see there's going to be some further help coming. Garza, at this point in time, recognizes there's no blitz coming of any kind. So, as that man, extra man, he's going to look to try and get a chip as well onto Suh. Unfortunately, he's drifted over far too far and will be far too late in getting back into the picture. And that is going to prove to be devastating. Let's roll it forward here. And we can see what happens. So the chip happens, as expected, but it only guides Suh further to the middle, where Lance Lewis totally misplayed it. He's far too far out of position right now. This man, there's no way he's going to get over into the middle. Garza's not going to make it back. And at this point in time, Carimi, who got the strong chip on him here, is also too far out of the play. It's really not his primary responsibility, though, in this situation. Let's carry on. Suh bust pass through the hole. If you can believe it, there were 3 men. Count it. 1, 2, 3 men here that all had a shot and had a responsibility in some form or fashion of trying to stop Suh. But somehow he charges right through, and this bad thing happens where he gets into Cutler, is able to bring him down, and does what I think is a dirty hit. Now, and so as he comes around here to get this hit on, this is all legal right here. Fine, no problem with any of this. Gets on top, but this is where it starts to get hazy. He starts to bring his leg around this area, getting leverage on Cutler from the top. His right arm on his shoulder here, you can see, gets pressure going downward. Now, at this point, if he just throws him down, that's still fine. That's still legal, in my opinion. But where it really gets under my skin is how he continues through and brings his full weight at this point in time down onto Cutler's head for possible concussion, down onto his shoulder, driving him into the ground for possible separated shoulder or broken collarbone. And that's disgusting, and that's classic Ndamukong Suh play right there. All right, I'm back. And as you saw, as I described, that to me, that's a dirty hit. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if the league doesn't care. It doesn't matter to me because I saw it as a dirty hit. Now, Jay Cutler's doing the right thing. He's saying all the right words. He's saying, it's just a tough play from a gamer. And, if I'm going to be outside the pocket, I should expect those kind of things. And that's the right thing for him to say. And, he's got to be like that because, unfortunately, everyone thinks he's a petulant baby. Unfortunately, that seems to be the rep on Jay Cutler. I don't think that. I don't think most Bears fans think that of him. But he feels like he's got to be that way, and I don't blame him for that. His bro, BMarsh, stepped up, though, on Twitter right after the game, talking about how it was a dirty hit, how real good players like Suh, who should be good players, don't do that kind of thing. Class players don't do that. Driving a guy into the ground like that once they've already got him, essentially wrapped up and tackled. So, I think the dirty hit, I don't care what anyone says, Suh should be suspended, and it's ridiculous that this is getting written off by the league as just a normal play. He didn't even get a flag on that play, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyways, I think it's ridiculous. He's got a history as a dirty player. You can't even just look at that one incident. I think if you look at the track record, he's definitely got a history as a dirty player. And to be honest, he dislikes the Bears. He doesn't like Cutler, I don't think. And he obviously knew that they're playing the Bears again this season. So if he had a chance to do some damage on their core asset and Jay Cutler, why not? That's my opinion of what his breakdown was on that play. Now going forward, obviously coming off this game, we see some areas to improve on. The offensive line needs to get better at both their own individual assignments and working together as a unit on tough guys to block. When they're double teaming, triple teaming even a guy, they got to know the roles better. On that play where Suh got home, that clearly was not one of those situations. So I don't think it's going to be a big issue that's going to rear its head next week. But in future weeks when they're facing those tough pass rushers, it sure could be, and they've got to lock that down. And finally, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we need to get that number 2 wide receiver. We need to get that guy who we can trust. Because without him, I'm worried that Marshall's going to start getting doubled all the time, and it's going to become very, very difficult to move the ball downfield through the air, as we saw hints of last game. I don't think Hester is the guy. I'm really concerned about his ability to step up. He hasn't been able to do it in the past. As much as I love Devin Hester, I especially love him on special teams, but not so much as a number 2 wide receiver. And we need someone we can count on more. Personally, I would like to see them give Earl Bennett a bigger shot here at this time of the season to demonstrate his ability to make regular catches and possibly even stretch the field now and then. But I think we need someone on the outside who's more reliable and someone who's going to cause a threat to the defense. So, unfortunately, I think Devin's still more of a trick package type guy, not a regular WR2. But anyways, that's my opinion. If you got a different opinion or want to air it out, you can feel free to comment here on the YouTube page, or you can tweet me at Chicago Bears FS. I'm there. Besides that, hope everyone has a great rest of their week. Coming up, next video is going to be my preview of the Carolina Panthers game as the Bears head into Carolina for what could be a very dangerous trap game. Bear down.